Hey, can you guys hear me?
Okay, as I'm sure you guys have noticed, there's a little something going around called COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus, and it's looking to be pretty serious. Starting from China, it's begun hitting various countries from around the world, including Italy, France, the Philippines, and finally, the United States. Cities are being quarantined, people are staying indoors and away from others, the stock market is crashing, and above all, there's a shortage of toilet paper. Alright guys, I made a toilet paper joke. Am I funny now? Where's my YouTube award? The immediate effect on humanity is obvious. However, a lot of people are only concerned with what's happening right now and not what's going to happen in the long run. Now, in this video particularly, I'm going to be talking about how it's going to affect the automotive industry because the repercussions of this are actually a lot more severe than you guys might initially realize. But don't you worry, I have all the information you need right here, and then some. So be sure to sit back, put on your masks, and enjoy the video. Little disclaimer before we begin, I am not an expert. This is a video made purely based upon research and my own conjecture from said research. I'll make sure to link everything down in the description below, that way you guys can see all the information that I got. Alright, so let's get into it. For those of you that don't know, China is big in the automotive industry. No, really, like really big. Let's put that in perspective. The top 4 automobile producing countries are China, the United States, Japan, and India. In 2018, India produced roughly 5,200,000 cars. In that same year, Japan produced around 9,700,000 cars, and the United States produced roughly 11,400,000. Now, if you added all that together, you'd get roughly 26,300,000 cars made in those 3 countries in just a single year. Needless to say, that's a few cars. However, this amount is roughly 2 million short compared to what China makes in a single year. China creates a staggering 27,809,196 automobiles just in 2018 alone. That's not even the most they've ever made. That's just the most current stats I could find. Not only that, they're also one of the largest performance part exporters. Obviously, I use the term performance loosely. Point is, China is a huge player in this game, but with this virus spreading around, there's a lot of those plants that are getting shut down. For those of you that don't know, Wuhan, the place where the outbreak started, is home to some of the biggest car factories and part suppliers in China, equating to roughly 10% of China's automotive exports. They make so much that it's actually to the point where they're called the Detroit of China. For those of you that don't know, Detroit's where they make a lot of cars, so the more you know. That's almost 3 million cars in Wuhan alone, not even counting the hundreds of other factories shut down at that moment. So many, in fact, that China's overall automotive production fell by 92% just in February alone. Now, I want you to answer this question. What happens when the biggest automotive exporter in the world just stops exporting those goods? I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to figure it out. Okay, this is taking too long. That's right, it creates a chain reaction to other factories around the world, causing a shortage of parts, which in turn doesn't allow them to create their own cars, which will then make production fall even lower. Due to the shortage, this may cause cars in the future to become more expensive until production picks back up. If you didn't get that answer, then it's okay. Proud of you for trying, buddy. It's even gotten to the point where giant American automotive producers, including Ford, GM, Dodge Chrysler, and more have completely stopped production of new cars in the United States as of March 18th. Now, you're probably thinking, well, thank God I'm not buying a new car right now because that would have been a huge problem for me. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it definitely affects you just as much as everyone else. See, when the coronavirus situation stabilizes and people are buying new cars again, there won't be a ton of new cars to go around. As a result, this will affect pricing, which will increase due to the smaller supply. This shortage of parts will also hinder even local mechanics, as about 60 to 75% of Chinese parts end up in the aftermarket. Since that number of spare parts is going to go down, the cost of replacement parts will also go up. Now, this doesn't mean that your car is never going to get fixed. It's just going to take longer for those parts to ship in. And they're probably going to be more expensive. Some economists have even stated that we will feel this as early as mid to late March, which we're already in. So good luck, everybody. Now, does this mean you need to start panicking and start buying up car parts like y'all did toilet paper? Absolutely not. The only thing I would say to do is probably take your car for a checkup. Make sure that all the sensors are working, make sure you don't have any gasket leaks, no clogged fuel injectors, you know, that kind of stuff. Check your tires, check your suspension. Basically, make sure there's nothing that can become a serious problem in the coming months. If there's something that might turn into a serious problem, get it replaced. Or if you're good with your hands, buy the part before prices go too high. That way when it does break, you have the part you need on hand. And if it doesn't break, well, you know, you could always just resell it. Swap meets are canceled right now, which, you know, really blows because I've been trying to find a GM 8.5, and that's probably not going to happen until later in the year now. Also, and I can't stress this enough, remember to be educated on the basic functions of your car. That way a mechanic can't take advantage of your panic to try to sell you stuff you don't need. Many mechanics can and will do this. It's okay to have them show you exactly what's wrong with your car and the code that says so if there is one. If they get indignant and start to accuse you of not trusting their work, chances are you probably shouldn't be trusting them anyway. Obviously, there are many trustworthy mechanics out there, and the great ones will be more than happy to show you what's wrong. This isn't just a tip for COVID-19, this is a tip for life, so know your cars, guys. Back to the subject of factories. You may have read in the news that many factories in China are reopening, even as the coronavirus continues to run rampant around the world. Now, on the surface, this sounds like the situation is getting under control, but in reality, it's the Chinese leaders forcing their workers to continue to stir up the economy for them. That sounded a little negative. That's just, you know, what I got from the article, so. Even now, the factories are not working at full capacity, as many workers are staying in quarantine for fear of getting infected, or just fighting the infection off. But remember, I know I'm focusing really heavily on China for this video, but China's just the start. A lot of people are shutting down. Italy's shut down. The US is now shut down. Those are some of the top producers of cars in the world, but the new model year is probably late 2020, early 2021. There's probably going to be a shortage. Now, I'm also sure that many of you are worried about the stock market, and to be honest, you have a good reason to. With the lack of production and goods, many stock prices are falling, especially Ford's, which just hit the lowest it has been in more than a decade. The beginning of February, it was roughly $9 a share. As of March 19th, 2020, it has dropped to $4.40 a share. However, this is not as much as the recession in 2008, where it dropped to a maximum low of roughly $1.50. Remember guys, it is not the end of the world just because the stock market's going down. Stock market fluctuations and economical fluctuations and downturns and upturns are just part of, you know, United States economics. Granted, the last two have been pretty bad, so it probably would be a good idea to prepare, but don't go crazy selling stocks everywhere, and I'm going to tell you why right now. Now, it may not bounce back in a month, it may not bounce back in a year or even two, but I can promise you it will come back. As a result, I would say that now is probably a good time to invest. You know, prices are the lowest they've been in a while, so if you want to try to set you and your family up for the future, or after this economic downturn's over, now would be a good time. Alright, now before I say this next part, I need you guys to remember, I am a college student. I am not an expert on the ins and outs of the stock market. I am merely describing the situation as I see it. Now, if you have a differing opinion, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Now, this channel is a place where people can come together and have a conversation. Just remember to be respectful to each other in the comments. That's all I ask. Anyways, let's use Ford as an example of this. Say it's the middle of February 2009, where Ford's stock price is roughly $1.50 a share. You decide to take advantage of the low price, buying up 100 shares, which equals around $150. You hold that stock for 2 years and sell it around $18 a share in January of 2011. When you sell it, you'll be getting back roughly $1,800, giving you a profit of $1,650. Now, obviously, this is very dependent on luck and how much time you wait. If you waited after January 2011, you notice that the stock price eventually went down to around 15, 14, somewhere around that range, and you wouldn't get as much of a return. If you waited shorter, you'd probably be around the same range. You gotta wait for the perfect moment. I know it's easier said than done, but you know, part of the stock market is taking a risk. It's like the lottery. However, I feel in terms of risk, investing in a company like GM or Dodge Chrysler or Ford would probably be beneficial to you, because seeing as the last time the economy had a really bad recession, the government actually bailed them out. So I feel like those stocks are kind of safe ones to have around. Once again, I'm not an expert. Do not quote me on this. I don't want to confuse anybody into thinking that I only see opportunity in the face of this horrible virus. I'm just trying to come up with ways that you guys can try to make the best of a bad situation. I really hope I'm not coming across as insensitive. This is a very serious virus, and you guys should be as careful, because ultimately, your lives are more important than any arrow in the stock market. Oh man, I just went off on a huge tangent. So yeah, anyways, there you guys have it. That's kind of how I believe the coronavirus will affect the automotive industry. And I believe this is the way you can make the best out of a bad situation. Obviously, there are a few things I glazed over just for the sake of video length. I'm very happy to continue conversations in the discussion below. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm a small YouTuber with roughly 1,300 subs, and anything, any like, any comment, anything like that just goes a super long way for me. I make a ton of analytical videos about cars just like this. So if you're interested in what you're seeing and you like some of the humor, why not think of subscribing? You know, it's free. Please. If you like the camera quality, you like the audio quality, I have those linked in the description below. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to wash your hands. Peace.